I think you can make a real case for both Darius Garland and Jarrett Allen as all-stars this year. So, Morten, I think I want to start with the Cleveland Cavaliers, who we've talked about Evan Mobley a bunch this season, especially in relation to Rookie of the Year. But I don't want to make it sound like Evan Mobley is the only reason that the Cavs have been as good as they are, because they frankly might have the Rookie of the Year frontrunner or co-frontrunner, because Scotty Barnes is neck and neck with Mobley. Mm-hmm. But they might also have 2 All-Stars this year.
Are we sure they don't have 3? At least 3 candidates?
With Mobley as well?
Mm-hmm.
You can make an argument. I mean, I guess the problem that we ran into in the West, where it was like it's hard to fill out a 12-man ballot because there are so many good teams in the East. It's probably going to be easy to do so, but at the same time, now Jimmy Butler has missed a lot of time this year. Bam Adebayo has missed a lot of time. So those guys
Kyrie hasn't played. Ben Simmons hasn't played. The Knicks are bad, so you can justify leaving Julius Randle off it. Like, there are a lot of
Jaylen Brown's missed a lot of time too. So I get you're right. A lot of guys that we would typically pencil, like Jimmy Butler, when healthy, absolute all-star lock. There are a lot of guys who've just missed so much time. It's fair to wonder. I mean, like, only December 15th. We still got probably a month before we're really in all-star selection mode here. So these guys have time to get healthy and recover, and hopefully COVID stops being such a major issue. But yeah, I mean, I think you can make a real case for both Darius Garland and Jarrett Allen as all-stars this year. Let's talk about Garland first, because I mean, Colin Sexton goes down, and there have been some bubbling questions about the long-term fit between these two guys, and now seeing what Garland can do without Sexton in the lineup, do you think this just cements it? Like, Darius Garland, if they have to pick one, it's very clearly going to be Darius Garland?
I think so, for 2 reasons. He can really shoot the heck out of the ball, and he's a passer. That's not to say that Colin Sexton didn't improve as a passer last year, because I think he did. And I will die on the hill that says that Colin Sexton is underrated still. I think he's gotten such a bum rap around the league, and I think he's going to go to a different team. I think he's going to play for a different team next year, and I really hope that he just blows up and proves to everyone that he is a good player. It was just a bad fit. Which is perfectly reasonable, by the way. You don't always have to have bad endings. Like, it's perfectly fine that you just go, well, this wasn't a good fit. Let's see what we can do. But no, it's Garland because he just kind of fits. He's the best passer on the team, and when you have an Evan Mobley and a Jarrett Allen who run to the rim, who sprints to the three-point line, well, Mobley does that to a certain extent. He only takes 1.7 threes per game, but that will increase in time. It's kind of necessary that you have a passer. Like, Evan Mobley's career right now wouldn't be as established if he didn't have a guy to give him the basketball. Like, let's just be honest. He's doing tremendously, and that's not to say that Garland is responsible for his success. That's not what I'm saying. But when you have a point guard who can actually give big men the ball, that helps. I mean, hell, you're a Sixers guy. You went through the process years, and the Sixers had virtually no guards for a long time to feed like Joel or Jahlil Okafor or all those guys, right? It's just, it wasn't there. And you could see how at times it would really limit their impact. The Cleveland Cavaliers have that. They have a point guard who's a willing passer, and a good passer too, who can really help spread the floor. Jarrett Allen is... I would say, Brian, Jarrett Allen to me is an all-star lock. Like, I am putting him there. Like, he is a lock if he just stays healthy. Like, of course, if he goes down, that's a different story. But 17.5 points per game, 11 plus rebounds, 71.4% from the field overall. He is hitting over 80% of his shots within 3 feet of the basket because he's a dunking machine. And the thing is, he's not taking just a modest amount of shots from there. He is taking a significant chunk of his shots from the inside. He has really carved out this understanding of, okay, this is what I need to do to be successful. I am doing that every single game. I'm a strong defender. I don't take shots outside my area. I know my limitations. And you know what, Brian? He is becoming a superstar in his role. Like, not superstar overall, but in a superstar in his responsibilities. To me, his impact, his defensive influence, he's an all-star lock. And if he isn't granted that by the all-star game, if he's healthy, I'm gonna have a very, very angry rant before the all-star game, because he's that good, Brian.
It's fair. I mean, he has been incredible this year. I'm trying to pull up some all-impact advanced metrics that I can see. Like, his PER is 24.4. I know PER is flawed. I'm guessing he is among the league leaders in most advanced metrics this year.
He's got a true shooting percentage of 73.3.
Yeah, I mean, he's been just everything you could have wanted. You know, the concern with him, when you're signing him to that 5-year, $100 million contract this past offseason, is like, okay, we know what we're getting out of him. What if this is like the ceiling? Like, he averaged, around in the low teens in terms of points, 10 rebounds per game, like good, not great numbers, but his step forward as a scorer this year and the synergy that he's displaying with Darius Garland on offense, plus all he provides defensively, like the Mobley Allen pairing defensively just works so frighteningly well. And it's going to force a reevaluation of, like, teams have been moving toward small ball, and you're not going to find an Evan Mobley every day. Like, he might just be such a rare prospect that he's going to give the Cavaliers that option when other teams won't have it. But that's going to be a huge advantage for the Cavaliers moving forward if they can dictate the terms that their opponents have to play with. Like, if they can keep the two big lineup on the floor, specifically against small ball, because Mobley is so unconventional, does that turn things in Cleveland's favor? It very well might.
It will. And I'm very glad you hedged your bet right there, because that was what I was about to say. Instead of like the league looking at this formula and going, maybe we should go back to the two big format. Like, no. My stance on the power forward position, which I have been very, very vocal about on here, it's only being cemented further by Mobley being the exact type of exception that I've talking about. Like, to be a productive, big power forward in today's league, you need to be able to defend, or you need to have ball handling capabilities and playmaking capabilities. He has all of those things. Like, he doesn't have a particular weakness. He can shoot, he can dribble, he can pass, he can defend, he can rebound, and he can score. When you have those guys, which is like Giannis, okay, so Giannis can't really shoot, but he can do everything else at a world-class level, so that's fine. You have Pascal Siakam, who also fits that mold. You have those rare guys who can do everything and who are switchable and can do these things. Yeah, put them in as the power forward next to a big center. It's fine, because they give you advantages in more ways than one. Oh, and I forgot one thing. They can play multiple positions. They can play up to the 5. Evan Mobley can absolutely very easily slide up to the 5 if needed. The same can be said for Giannis. The same can be said for Pascal. So it's really, ironically, now that we're on the topic of Cleveland, it's the Lauri Markkanens. It's the John Collinses. It's those type of players who I consistently look at as going, yeah, you are always going to be pigeonholed into a certain role because there are just a level of skills that you don't have. Like, neither of those guys are high-level impact defenders. They can't really pass the ball. They're not really playmakers. They are not great ball handlers either. There are just so many more weaknesses that pigeonholes them into this very, very slight role, which is score the ball, rebound the ball. That's basically it. And hell, Markkanen, we could argue, doesn't even rebound the ball. So this type of player in Evan Mobley unlocks everything because he can do everything. I mean, this is what we're looking at. And you're absolutely right. This is a major, major advantage for Cleveland, that they can actually put out two bigs who are switchable, active, who are high-impact defenders. Hell, I wouldn't even rule out that Jarrett Allen develops a three-pointer at some point. I wouldn't rule it out. The release is fine. I've seen him take a few threes, and it's over the course of his career and this year as well. Like, yeah, he's not hitting them at a high rate yet, but there's nothing to insinuate that won't get there. The release is absolutely fine.
Right, and he's only 23. He turns 24 in April, so like he's still got plenty of time to develop. And I think what's great from Cleveland's perspective is going into this season, you didn't know whether they had any like definitive long-term building blocks. You hoped Mobley was that guy, and you could assume it just based on his draft pedigree and what he showed in college. But now seeing him in the NBA, all right, this guy is clearly like our star that we're going to build around moving forward. But I would say Garland and Allen have both cemented themselves as like, we've got 3 of our 5 starters locked in.
Yes.
We know. I mean, I know Garland is still on a rookie deal. They're going to have to sign him to an extension. I think his play this year has justified, we need to sign this guy. We need to lock this guy up. Like, we're not going to have a Colin Sexton situation where we don't sign him to an extension. We let him test restricted free agency. I guess we'll see if he demands a max and if they're willing to pay that. But if he continues playing at this level and continues showing the improvement, I don't think it's a totally crazy gamble for them to take, especially given the factors that we've discussed in recent months with the cap spike coming up. If they can get him locked into a long-term deal, even if it's a max, it might look like an overpay potentially for a year or two, but come the middle of the decade, it's probably going to look like a discount.
It's the Jamal Murray thinking. Like, you're willing to take the first 2 years where he's overpaid, but still a plus player. Like, it's not like he's not giving you any type of production. You just, the value might not be as aligned to his production level. But then when year 1 or year 2 rolls or have been concluded and he rolls into year 3 or 4, then you're looking at him going, oh, now we're actually getting bang for our buck because he's becoming that good. And you're right. Like, you kind of know that Mobley's going to be a max player because he is what he is right now in terms of being an all-around player. And when I say he is what he is, I don't mean he's a finished product. Like, you just know that he doesn't really have a significant weakness. You already know this 25 games into his career. So you kind of build on that and kind of recognize, 4 years down the line, max player for sure. I would argue, Brian, that because Jarrett Allen only makes $20 million and he's probably going to be an all-star moving forward if this is the production level that he's going to offer, that's a steal, especially as the cap keeps climbing. And I'm not even talking about the new TV deal necessarily. Like, every single year, the cap is expected to climb at least a little bit. So his contract is only going to get better and better. Now, you said the Cavs had 3 of their 5 starters locked in. I wrote a piece for Forbes the other day, and we talked about a little bit on the podcast the other day as well. I think they should move Markkanen for Norman Powell, because Powell is also locked up to a long-term team. He signed 5 years, $90 million, which is actually pretty fair. Him coming in and taking that 2-guard spot, and this is where you kind of allow Colin Sexton to find something else, or you trade him. You won't get a lot in return, but you figure something out with him. But like, could you just imagine having that core? That foursome? That's a pretty strong team. And you still need a wing. I still think Isaac Okoro can become that. And if he does, you'll have plenty of offense in the backcourt of Garland and Powell. You'll have plenty of production up front in Mobley and Allen. And then you can have a defensive specialist in Okoro where you can kind of allow yourself to give him the time to develop offensively. Like, he doesn't need to become a two-way guy overnight. You can invest the next 2 or 3 years in actually developing his offensive game. My point here is the Cavs are in good shape. They're in really good shape. I love what they've done.
And surprisingly good shape. And shout out to Ricky Rubio as well, who has been really, really impactful for that. I know he's still shooting like crap because he's Ricky Rubio, but averaging 6.3 assists per game off the bench. Like, he's been a godsend for them. Chetty Osman's playing well off the bench. Kevin Love is even playing well.
12 and 7, man.
Yeah,
20 minutes per game.
still overpaid as hell, but hey, if you're, you know, you got to make the best of it. And I saw a quote from him the other day. It says he's he's really enjoying it again. Like I think
that's important.
Them being competitive has made him more invested, because, you know, he was pretty checked out for the last couple of years when they were, for good reason. Like, they were going nowhere after you have the run that he had with LeBron and Kyrie. Like, probably hard to get up for a 25-win team. So, you know, I think the Cavaliers are clearly one of the best surprises of the season. Going into the year, their win total over-under was 26.5. They're already at 17 wins. Yeah. They're 17-12. So anyone who bet the over on the Cavs, congratulations. I hope you put a lot of money on that.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, just as a final Cavs note, let's check in on Denson. Oh, no.
Come on. We're staying positive here. We're staying positive.
That's true. All right. Sorry. Had to.